G'day, Chris Harrington here. Just coming down Gardeners Road in East Bentley on my way to Bob Cull's house to do an interview for the 60th anniversary celebrations. Up on the left you got Bailey Reserve. Many games of junior footy was played at Bailey back in the day. Now a soccer field. We're going to turn right down Langslow Street, the famous number 5 Langslow from of Bob Cull. He used to have an annual boot swap where all the kids would come down to Bob's place before the start of the season and swap their old boots for the new ones. And there's Bob's house there. There's the garage. Wow, brings back a lot of memories for a lot of kids. Alright, we're going to go in and have a chat with Bob. Alright, so I'd like to introduce everyone to Bob Cull. Bob's been a part of the footy club for a long time at St Peter's, and Bob, thanks for spending some time with me today and having a chat about the old days. Tell me, do you remember when you first got involved with St Peter's Footy Club? Remember when that was?
21 years ago, 1968.
About 68. So the 21 years you talk about, I think that's how long you were involved with the club, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. I had 2 boys, John and Jared, and a good time, good fun.
What sort of things did you do? Were you a team manager or a coach? What sort of things did you do at the footy club in those 21 years?
Never interested in being team manager. I was just a Mr. Do It Everything.
Yeah.
If it had to be done, I'd try and do it. If I couldn't do it, I'd get somebody else to do it. But I was never interested in being on a committee or anything else. But they made the bullets and I fired them.
So why didn't you want to be on a committee or
because it was boring.
It was boring. Right, and you said something about you didn't really, not a big fan of meetings.
No, very hated meetings. Still do. I never liked going to meetings, cricket meetings, anything else, any meetings at all. Absolutely boring. People make the bullets and I'll fire them.
Rightio. You're 21 years. That's a lot of footy games. Did you? It sounds like you're almost there every week. Did you ever miss a game?
Yeah, one. Well, actually, I didn't miss that game. I had a bad attack of the flu, and I think Margaret drove the car up to McKinnon, and I sat in the car. I was too crook to get out of the car, and I just sat there and watched the game, and when the game was finished I tootled off home and come back to bed.
And was it one of your sons, was it John or Jared's game?
It would have been John, I think.
And you were that crook that you couldn't actually get out of the car?
Could not get out of the car. Well, it was cold. It was as cold as a mother-in-law's kiss. And I didn't want to get any colder because I was too crook.
One of the things that I know that you did, because when we spoke with Warren McGuinness recently, he told me that you were his medical man.
That's right, yeah.
So you're a bit of a renowned medical man.
Yeah.
What was your, tell me a little bit about your days as a medico.
Well, my job, the kids, 12 and 13, if they get a bit of a knock, they think they're dying. And I went out to one boy, and Trevor Paulson was his name. And Trevor was lying on his stomach with his head buried in the ground, and I said, "Are you all right?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, you're not too hurt, are you?" I said, "Get up or I'll kick your backside." So I said, I give him a dose of smelling salts and smashed him in the face with a wet towel, and he off and he played like a champion. 21
years is a long time to be watching junior footy. You would have seen some pretty good players come through St Peter's over those years.
Many, yes.
Anyone stand out in your mind as being a real standout from your memory?
Yes, one, and he was outstanding. In my opinion, he was the best footballer that's ever played for St Peter's, and that was a boy called John Fidge, who went on and played for Melbourne and Glenelg, went to Adelaide and played for Glenelg, and but he was the best footballer that I've seen come through St Peter's, without a shadow of a doubt.
And you spoke before about John, and you said that one game you were helping John Beveridge, Senior, who was coaching the team.
JB, they called him.
JB, and I think you said it was under 13s, this game.
I think it was under 13s, and it was played on the Bailey Reserve.
Yep.
And I was keeping statistics as well as doing my job. And in 1 hour of football, John Fidge had 61 possessions. 61 possessions, and that was noted on a sheet. Kicks, handballs. He was absolutely brilliant. And
that's in an hour of footy.
In 1 hour of football, 4 quarters of 15 minutes. That's 1 hour.
61 possessions. And you counted every one of them.
And he's 61 possessions. The ball was never out of his hand.
Wow.
And he was just a brilliant footballer.
That's incredible. Let me ask you about your memory of the Bottle-O boys. That was the Bottle-O boys was something that was around your time at the club.
Absolutely. I didn't have a great input to that myself. I did go up and help on collection days, but I think some of the boys that went out collecting, and I did a couple of collects myself, but they'd bring back hundreds of dozens, and I mean hundreds of dozens of empty bottles, and perhaps halfway through the run around, then somebody would produce a dozen long necks, and they'd have
that weren't empty.
That weren't empty, but they soon were, which went to the pile. But it was good days, fun days.
What was the purpose of the collecting of all the bottles?
It was to go to help less fortunate people around St Peter's, which there were quite a few.
In what way did it help them?
Education-wise, for their kids. I did not get involved in the actual running of that, but there were other people that were fully involved with that.
Remember any names of those sort of the folks?
Well, I'll ask Margaret. I'll come in, love.
Oh, well, the Nolan family.
Nolans.
Yeah, that was one family.
Yeah,
that we were personally involved.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they had a little bit of hard luck, and that was one family that were helped, and I don't think they would mind me saying that. But there were others, but I didn't get too involved with what happened after the bottles had gone, other than to drink a few.
What one of my fondest memories of your involvement, because your son Gerard and my brother Pete were good mates for many years back, back in the St Peter's days, and so I spent a bit of time, with you and Gerard. And one thing I remember every year was coming around to your place, walking down that driveway of yours, down to the garage, and getting into the garage for the annual boot swap.
Yeah.
So every year, tell me what you did every year with these boots.
Well, I think it all started one day. I had to buy Gerard a new pair of boots, or John, one of them. I'm not sure, with John probably. And at that time they were probably $5 a pair. And I thought, that's stupid. People there must be dozens and dozens of pairs of boots in people's garages, laundries. So I made an appeal one day up at St Peter's in the Parish Gazette that anybody that had old football boots, good or bad, please bring them up to the boys' club. And I was inundated, and at one stage, from my memory, I think I would have had 200 pairs of boots in my garage, good ones and bad ones. And I went to a lot of trouble, sorted them out, put new stops in them, polished them up, new laces, and I would charge a minimum of, well, what it cost me to buy the stops, laces and boot polish, whatever I used. Might be $2, $3 a boot, a pair of boots. And but I made nothing out of it. It wasn't for money making concern. It was to save people buying football boots for quite expensive football boots. And I fitted out a lot of kids with football boots, including Chris Harrington.
You sure did. Although I remember, as I said to you before, I used to get Mum as early in that day as we could, and we've got to get round to the Culls as quickly as we can, because all the good boots would go straight away.
Yeah.
The Adidas Strikers with the fluoro stripes, and if I didn't get there early, I'd end up with the Reminisces with the big high cuts. And I remember you've got a story about a pair of Reminisces boots.
Yeah, a pair of Ron Barassi. They weren't actually Ron Barassi's boots, I don't think, but they had Ron Barassi on the sides, and I got the brilliant idea of painting them gold So I had some gold paint out there, and I sprayed them actually, and presented them to St Peter's and asked them that it could be used as the Golden Boot Award for the goal kicker of the year, whoever kicked the most goals. And to this day, I think they're still up in the cabinet at Centenary Park in the rooms there somewhere.
Well, just one last one, I suppose, from me, and then if it's all right with you, I'd love to go out the back and have a look in the garage just before we head off. Would you be good enough to show me in the garage?
I'll show you in the garage.
Oh, that'd be good. The last question I wanted to ask you, Bob, was, and I've asked this of everyone I've been speaking to, but what do you think's one of the best things that the club did for the kids in your time?
Taught them a lot of values. I think from the parents, coaches, medical people, anybody that was involved with the football club or with the boys club, it taught them the values of being decent people. There were a few rebels up there, no names, no pectoral, but there were a few rebels which we very soon pulled into place, and they became good citizens. And there's still a few hanging around the place, and they're good citizens now. But that was our values, to look after them and treat them well. And we found that they treated us better after that. Respect. Respect for your elders, which there's quite a lack of that now, I think, in a lot of places. People don't respect their elders enough. And hopefully that will all fix itself up. As they get older, they start to get a few more brains. And like Chris. But he's all right.
Bob Cull, thank you so much for your time.
It's been my pleasure, Chris.
And thanks, Mrs. Cull.
That's okay, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
All right.
And
let's go and have a look in the garage.
Go and have a look in the garage.
Heading down the Cull's driveway to the famous garage of the famous boot swap. Well, the car's in there, Bob, but this is where it all used to happen. So tell me what you used to do.
Well, first off, I had a cricket ball on a string in a sock hanging here, and that's where Jared learned to play cricket. And it did make a great difference to his cricket. He turned out quite a good cricketer. But we had a ball hanging down there, and he used to stand here for hours and drive the neighbours crazy. But hanging there, just bang, 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 bang. Now, approaching up here,
It seems so small, Bob, but it seemed so large when I was a kid.
yeah. Well, there's the shelves.
So you used to put the boots on the shelves?
And the boots were all... I had a bench there. There's a table there now, but I had a bigger bench. And as I fixed the boots up, I put them all along there in pairs. And they were full. All those shelves were full of football boots. Upwards of, I don't know, 200 pairs perhaps. Upwards of 200 pairs. And then he surfaced went across there, and across there, and another one on the bench.
Yep. Well, very fond memories of this garage and the boots, and once again, I want to say thanks for showing me into and showing all the members of the club just what one family could have done for an entire footy club. So on behalf of the club, really appreciate it, and thanks again.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Bob.